Now for our British report. Penelope Keith presents an insider's guide to her favourite holiday spot, the Ribble Valley.
Rural Lancashire takes in the Ribble Valley, Pendle and the Trough of Bowland. Squeezed between the Pennines on the east, the Lake District to the north and the M6, it's an area most people overlook. To be honest, like most southerners, I'd never heard of Pendle and the Ribble Valley till I was brought here by my husband, Rodney. He's from Lancashire, and we came here together 15 years ago, I think it was now, in 1978. And I've been hooked on it ever since. This is farming country, so sheep far outnumber people. The hills are sparsely populated, and the small market towns in the valleys are the centres of all the activity. Clitheroe is the largest town in this area. For hundreds of years, people have been coming to the market, which is held every Tuesday. A long time ago, it used to be farmers selling their livestock and things. Now, as you see, people can buy everything here, from nectarines to nappies. I'm now off to do my shopping. Ron, I see tasty lanks. What are these two?
This is the creamy lanks, which is the mild one.
Right.
And the crumbly lanks, which is a bit sharper.
Right.
And there's this lanks with chives.
I think I'd like to taste some crumbly,
Okay.
please. Right. And that's a kind of sharper one.
It's sharper taste.
It's delicious. I better have a quarter, please. Lovely.
That's 65 pence, please.
Thank you. 65 pence, Mr. Producer. Clitheroe is also the centre for much of the area's cultural activity. This is the start of the new Ribble Valley Sculpture Trail. The idea is that a different sculptor will come here for 6 months at a time and add pieces to the trail, and eventually it'll stretch all the way along the valley. The first chap to take up this post is Thompson Dagnall.
Part of what I've got to do is run workshops for local kids and youth groups, and this is one of them. We're making mushrooms that we're going to plant in the park, and also there'll be a main piece of sculpture which is going to be sited on this part. It's going to be a shepherd pulling a ram out of the river.
Everything is very hands-on round here. At Brewsham Hall, just outside Clitheroe, the squire himself shows you round.
Thomas Lister Parker, who is very much responsible by the house.
The house has an Elizabethan facade, a Queen Anne wing and a west wing recast in 1805.
The oak drawing room. Wow, this panelling is 1700.
It's the oldest inhabited house in Lancashire. Robert Parker's family have been here since the house was built in 1507, and the latest addition to the Parker line is just 6 weeks old. A few miles east of Clitheroe, the other side of Pendle Hill, is the Pendle Heritage Centre. This walled garden has been designed like an 18th century kitchen garden. All the flowers and vegetables are mixed up together. It's full of herbs and spices, so it smells wonderful. They have their uses too.
The whole plant's supposedly antiseptic. The seeds you can use ripe and unripe in apple pies, salads.
Can I taste some?
Or you can even try one, yeah, to freshen the breath.
Oh, that'll be good. I had some garlic last night. You won't see the best of Pendle unless you get out for a walk. There are countless marked ways and trails in the area, but the most famous is the Pendle Way, a 45-mile route around the valley. Thankfully, there are lots of shorter segments that you can do in one day. But whichever bit of the Pendle Way you take, you'll rarely escape the shadow of the walk's namesake, Pendle Hill. It dominates the skyline for miles around. Generations of hill farmers have put their trust in the hill's weather forecast. As the saying goes, when Pendle wears a woolly cap, farmers all may take a nap. When Pendle Hill doth wear a hood, be sure the day will not be good. People are lured here by the tales of the Pendle witches. They put the area on the map in 1612. 19 local women were arrested and 9 of them hanged, convicted of the heinous crime of witchcraft. On a windy day in the shadow of Pendle Hill, you can almost believe they're still around. Who needs the Costa del Sol? Having scaled the dizzy heights of Pendle Hill, I headed east to my favourite village, Wycolla. It feels as though you've stepped back 100 years. It's so quiet because you're not allowed to drive into the village unless you live here. But it wasn't always so tranquil. Once there was a thriving handloom industry here. This is called the Clapper Bridge because in the 17th century, the weavers used to clatter across here in their clogs. The arrival of mechanised mills further down the valley took business away from Wycollar and villages like it, and the locals reverted to farming, which is in fact what goes on mostly here now. At the northern end of the Ribble Valley, the countryside opens out into the Trough of Bowland. Its soft, rolling countryside is very popular with walkers and cyclists. Dunsop Bridge is a small village at the gateway to the Trough. Most people just pass through, but it's worth pausing to see a rather strange landmark. This is the most photographed phone box in the country because it's bang in the centre of the kingdom. In fact, according to the Ordnance Survey map, this is the very middle of Britain. So perhaps I ought to do the done thing. Can I have a photo in the middle of England? Here we are, ducks. There we go. No more crisps. In the 19th century, mills dominated the landscape. The hand weavers in villages like Wycollar had to travel down the valley to the towns to get work. Well, they aren't all silent now. Victor Hobson's been weaving since he was 14. Now, his mill makes towels for the top football teams in the country. Another legacy of the Industrial Revolution here is the canal network. Barges have been carrying their cargoes along this Leeds to Liverpool canal for 200 years. But today, it's holidaymakers who fill the barges. It's a great way to see the countryside and feed the locals. I'd like some wine, please, darling. Thank you. You see, Lancashire isn't all cloth caps and clogs. The weather isn't always the same, but that I find rather interesting. It's a marvellous place to come for a holiday. We've been coming here for 15 years now. And I'm sure if you took the trouble and kitted yourself out, you'd have a wonderful time. Cheers.
Cheers.
Here's to a Lancashire.